We meet to serve our territory, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our communities fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and communities. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Standing Committee on Social Development, this public meeting, and thank the Minister and his staff for being able to come do a presentation here. Before we get into the agenda, I'll actually ask the staff or my colleagues to introduce themselves, and then we'll go from there. We'll start with Ms. Green.
Julie Green, Yellowknife Centre. Good afternoon.
MLA, Michael Netta, MLA for Dexwell.
Tom Bollier, MLA for Tuneda and Willowday.
Kevin O'Reilly, Frame Lake.
RJ Simpson, MLA Haverhill North.
On my left is Megan Welsh, Research, and on my right is Doug Showery, the clerk. My name is Shane Thompson. I'm from the Nahende. Welcome everybody here to just to review the agenda. So it's a briefing of Aurora College Strategic Direction with the Honorable Alfred Moses, Minister of Education, Culture, and Employment. Could I have a mover? Mr. Bollier? All in favor? Agreed. Thank you. Is there any declaration to the conflict of interest? None seen. At this point in time, I'll turn the floor over to the Minister Alfred Moses. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good afternoon, committee members. I'm pleased to be here today in response to the committee's letter of invitation to discuss the Aurora College. With me today, I have Ms. Sylvia Hainer, my Deputy Ministers to my right, Mr. Andy Bevan, the Assistant Deputy Minister for Labour and Income Security. Also joining us is Julia Mott, Senior Advisor to the Deputy Minister, and Ms. Maya Lepage, my Ministerial Special Advisor. Mr. Chair, there's been a lot of discussion about Aurora College lately in terms of planning, programming, and efficiency. It is clear that the college is very important to members of the Legislative Assembly, students, and college staff alike, as it is to me and my staff as well. I want to make sure that going forward, the college is positioned to offer the best quality programs that meet the needs of students and the labor market. I want to make evidence-based decisions that will enable Northerners to enter programs that lead to meaningful, long-term employment. To that end, Mr. Chair, I have directed that a foundational review of the college take place to provide recommendations to this government which marry the work of the college to the needs of this territory now and in the future. The first step is to draft the terms of reference into which I will be seeking your input. While the review is taking place, I have further directed that the college's strategic planning exercise be put in abeyance. Once the review is concluded and we have reviewed the recommendations together, the college will use it as a basis on which to build their comprehensive plan, which will take the recommendations and operationalize them to their fullest. Mr. Chair, I would like to assure you and the members of the Standing Committee that there will be multiple opportunities for members to have input into this work. As the review moves forward, we will be seeking your thoughts and vision to ensure the College of tomorrow meets the needs of all residents, the needs of employers, and the needs of this territory as it evolves and matures. Mr. Chair, with your permission, I will ask that the Assistant Deputy Minister, Andy Bevan, to go through the presentation, and following the presentation, I will be happy to answer any of the members' questions or comments. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Minister Moses. Mr. Bevan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Chair, speaking to slide 2, EC recognises the important role Aurora College will play in supporting the Legislative Assembly's priority of fostering lifelong learning skills, development, training and employability, and achieving the objective of expanding opportunities for post-secondary education trades-oriented learning, and northern educational institutions. The specific mandate ECE has been given includes closing the skills gap using the Skills for Success framework, which our committee is now aware that we also have a supporting 4-year action plan, working with Aurora College on a renewed strategic plan, refocusing support for post-secondary institutions in the NWT, and improving outcomes from community learning centres. We are confident that all of the work required to achieve this important and ambitious mandate will be accomplished, and the following slides will speak in more detail as to how and when this will be achieved. It is anticipated that the foundational review will be focused on the governance and operations of the college. It's critical that the operations of the college are keeping pace with the changing needs of students and the evolving needs of employers. Upon completion of the foundational review and informed by the foundational review, ECE will work with Aurora College to conclude a long-term comprehensive strategic plan. This plan will ensure the college is better positioned to deliver high-quality programming that prepares students to participate in the NWT labour market or to pursue further education. Again, upon completion of the foundational review and informed by the foundational review, ECE will work with Aurora College to develop and implement an innovative performance-based funding and accountability framework. ECE is also in the process of developing a legislative proposal for the creation of an overarching legislative framework to govern post-secondary institutions in the NWT. Work on this proposal will continue over the coming months and will also be informed by the outcomes of the foundational review. We are confident that this ambitious post-secondary education agenda will be accomplished. Mr. Chair, moving to slide number 4. The foundational review will focus on the operations and governance of Aurora College, but may include such things as internal processes, the configuration of the college, the board structure, and the relationship with the responsible minister and the Department of Education, Culture and Employment. The Aurora College Foundational Review will be informed in part by some of the work already undertaken and will be an important step on the current path toward meeting the GNWT's mandate. In short, the Foundational Review will inform the future operations of the college. As the Minister alluded to in his opening remarks, the terms of reference will be developed in the coming weeks and a draft will be provided to committee for your input. We are working towards completing the Foundation Review in the fall of 2017. As previously referenced, the Foundational Review will also inform the development of a long-term comprehensive strategic plan for the college. This plan will, amongst other things, identify the types of programs the college will deliver and will help ensure that students have access to programs that prepare them for in-demand occupations within the Northwest Territories labour market. This plan will be completed in time for implementation in the 2018-19 academic year. And together, the Foundational Review and the long-term comprehensive strategic plan will position Aurora College to provide the necessary skills and knowledge residents require to contribute to the economic and social fabric of the NWT. Mr. Chair, turning to slide number 6. There's presently a number of jurisdictions in Canada who are looking and reviewing on how best to fund and hold accountable post-secondary institutions. In fact, Alberta is the latest to announce that they are undertaking such a review. We anticipate the foundational review will include reviewing and recommending alternative models for funding and will inform the development of an innovative and performance-based funding and accountability framework for Aurora College moving forward. EC is presently in the process of developing a legislative proposal for the creation of an overarching legislative framework to govern post-secondary institutions in the NWT. The primary objective of this new legislation will be to create a process of accreditation that ensures the effective governance and quality assurance of post-secondary institutions and their programs in alignment with national and international best practices. Such a process ensures consistency among post-secondary institutions and the programs that they offer. Aurora College, Jacinta Centre for Research and Learning, and College Nordique are expected to benefit from having a more inclusive and transparent governance structure as a consequence of the introduction of the legislation. The proposed post-secondary education legislation that is being developed will replace the Education Act as the overarching legislation for the creation of all types of post-secondary institutions. Work on this proposal will continue over the coming months, but will also be informed by the foundational review. Mr. Chair, and I believe the committee is very familiar with the information contained on slide number 8. But for the 17-18 fiscal year, the college will meet its reductions targets by reducing administrative expenses, increasing tuition, increasing fees for student housing. The college has not increased tuition or any of the fees for student accommodations for nearly 10 years. And of course, the current student financial assistance benefits will cover the costs of these increases. As committee is aware, the reductions proposed for the social work diploma and the Bachelor of Education programs will be put in abeyance for the 17-18 fiscal year. I'd like to assure members and committee that obviously those students who are currently enrolled in these programs will of course be allowed to complete the required coursework over the coming years. So in conclusion, the Department is confident that all 4 of these significant initiatives will be completed or will be close to completion in time for the 18-19 academic year. Completing this ambitious agenda of change will lead to expanded opportunities for post-secondary education in the NWT, and in doing so will empower our post-secondary education partners to better meet the needs of students and the NWT labour market. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bevan. Mr. Woolley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I just want to make 2 comments and ask a question. Mr. Chairman, I'm afraid that the foundational review will be done to justify decisions that were already made before any review, based on the fact that there was a feeling from Aurora College that the 2 programs that were being cut were inefficient. So now the foundational review will be done in order to justify that decision. In spite of the fact that members of this assembly, majority of members of this assembly, the community of Fort Smith, all of the students and many others oppose the cut to those 2 programs and consider it to be a bad idea. It feels like a Department of Education with support from the Board of Governors is proceeding with cuts that they're being told is not a good idea. It's going to hurt the Northwest Territories. It's going to hurt the community of Fort Smith. It's going to hurt many of the students that attend school right across the Northwest Territories. Just an overall real bad idea. But now we've moved from, instead of moving away from the idea, we're now doing a foundational review that will be intended to justify the decision that's already been made. So I'd like to ask the minister why they didn't consider doing this foundational review before cutting the program. I guess that would be my first question.
Mr. Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And in fact, I think the discussions that happened on the floor of the House and all the letters and the correspondence that we got from Aboriginal governments brought forth the attention that this was bigger than just the reductions that we were proposing in the 17-18 budget. It shed light on the Aurora College itself, and as a result, when discussions were brought up about the possibility of foundational review, we had our discussions and said that would be the best interest moving forward, is to look at the whole college as a system and move forward on that. The reductions that did come forward were evidence-based reductions in terms of the investment that we were making into these 2 programs, and that was worked with the Aurora College to bring those forward. And I've said it in the House, you know, the investments that we were putting into these programs and the outcomes that we were seeing weren't there, and that was the decision that was made. Moving forward with this foundational review, it will be independent. But I am seeking input from committee to that terms of reference that we will be provide moving forward. So we're not going to go in and say, okay, this is the reason why we're going to look at cutting other programs or even moving forward with the TEP program or the social work program. It's going to be independent review, which we'll continue to work together to provide that terms of reference to the independent contractor. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Mr. Bolio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted Minister would consider doing a review to improve the programs that are in place now. An example is that the program, education program, has run for, I believe it is 47 years, and produced a lot of teachers. I mean, the numbers are low because our population is low. Not everybody in NWT can be a teacher, but based on our population, I thought we were doing pretty good. I wonder if a review could be done just for a view of improving the programs that are in place, not cutting the programs that we have in place. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Bolio. Minister Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, we'll evaluate the range of the programs that are in Aurora College right now, as well as supporting resources and seeing how we can be more efficient in the investments that we're making in Aurora College. And this is the dialogue that we need to have, is get input from committee members, stakeholders that have an invested interest in Aurora College, and we need that input to move forward and make this foundational review something that we can move forward on, as I mentioned earlier, to provide quality education to our residents and get them ready for the in-demand jobs moving forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Moses. Any other questions for Minister Moses? Mr. O'Reilly.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Although I appreciate the minister coming forward, and certainly this is a good development that he's willing to bring the terms of reference before the committee, and I commend him on that, and I wish to get all of his colleagues on cabinet to similarly involve committees. But I'm just wondering why we're stopping the intake of students in the program now, the social work and teacher education program. Why we wouldn't just allow those programs to continue while the review is going on and fully reinstate the funding for that, those two programs. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And these two programs, as I mentioned, when we had our discussions and reductions working with the Aurora College, these two programs were identified. And we've heard down in the House, why can't we fix the program? And Member Bolio brought it up, reviewing these programs moving forward, and that's what we're going to do. But until then, until we know that we're going to get better outcomes in these two programs, we want to make sure that those two programs are also reviewed moving forward, and that if we're seeing the outcomes out of the students that are currently in there, which we're continuing to support the students that are in both in the social work program and the TEP program to completion, to graduation. If we see some good outcomes out of that, then we can revisit that. But until the foundational review is brought forward, we're not going to be able to see what the results are out of that foundational review. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Minister Moses. Mr. O'Reilly.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So I've got a couple things here, and if I need to get back on the list, I can. But yeah, maybe I'll start with this one. I guess I've heard that one of the issues for some of the students in the social work program is the unavailability of childcare. Why is there not a childcare right in Aurora College campus here in Yellowknife? And because I think that would probably help with retention. Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. O'Reilly. Minister Moses.
Yeah, and that's something that we have heard throughout all campuses, actually. And it's something that we need to work with the senior management at Aurora College to help identify and fix that. And in terms of intakes, I mean, Just going back to the previous question, we still continue to support students that want to go into the social work program, that want to get into education. As I mentioned in the House, we do have 33 students from the north that are taking education studies down south outside of the jurisdiction. We also have 19 students that are taking social work programming outside of the territory. So we continue to support our students that want to enter these programs. And just because it is an in-demand job does not mean that Aurora College does have to provide those programs. We still work with our partners at the University of Saskatchewan and University of Regina on an ongoing basis. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Minister Moses. Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The foundational review, how will this roll out? I know you're still looking for terms of reference, but how will the community learning centers be involved in this? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Minister Moses.
Yeah, we'll be looking at the current delivery model of all programs. CLCs are very important, especially we've heard in the House that some families don't want to leave their communities, so we want to make sure that how we deliver services out of our CLCs, as well as our campuses, that we can find innovative ways, things that contribute to the vision and mission of what the college sees in the future, as well as some of the needs that communities have. So we will be working with our CLCs too in terms of service delivery.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, the community learning centers are a good tool also for building local capacity, especially in terms of the Skills for Success program, because I know that to have local people trained locally so they can enter the job market and they can help build our economy is important. My next question is, where is the department looking for this third party who is going to carry out these reviews? Is this going to be someone from the territory, someone from Fort Smith or Yellowknife, or is the department sort of broadening their search for this party? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Minister Moses.
Yeah, it's definitely a broadened approach. We want to find people who are specialized in kind of doing audits, reviews, even looking at possibly other past deans of other institutes from down south that have a good familiarity of post-secondary institutions, past presidents of universities or colleges that might be in the consulting area. So it's broadened. We want to make sure that it's very independent of the college and our government, and that we get the best review possible. This is groundbreaking. This is something that hasn't been done in a long time with Aurora College, and can assure that members that when it's ready for implementation, 18-19, that the review is going to be strong and be supported by all members of the Assembly. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Moses. Ms. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, the department did a labor market forecast, which I've talked about before in the House and we've heard about. And we know that teachers are the most in-demand job, and there's also very strong demand for social work and related training. So if, according to slide 4, you're going to tie the foundational review to the labor market report, then why are these programs in advance? I still don't understand that part.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Minister Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I mentioned, for the investment that we did put into these two programs, the outcomes weren't there. We did work with both the college to identify these two programs. With the TEP program, for the amount of students that were being enrolled, mind you, it was a decent number that wasn't being enrolled into the programs, but we were graduating about 7 teachers out of that program per year for the last 3 years. And similar to the social work program, it was a 2-year diploma program. We were averaging about 4 a year for the last 3 years. What we need in the territory to do some of the more comprehensive work around social work is degree programs. And we work with our students to continue their education with the University of Regina. But we also, as I mentioned earlier, have 19 students that are currently taking that degree program right now outside of the territory. For the investment that we're putting in these two programs, the outcomes were not there and was a decision that we felt moving forward that we needed to put on hold. But with direction and feedback from committee and from Aboriginal governments, we did put that on abeyance until a review was done. Thank you. But we still do support students that want to get into these two programs, and we're going to continue to support the students that are currently in the Aurora College TEP program and the social work program to completion. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Minister Moses. Ms. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I see that the college is now and will be into the future in an untenable position because they are going to be held responsible for their student success, although they don't have control over all the factors that influence that success, such as whether there is adequate resourcing for things like childcare, or whether there's adequate flexibility that people can take the education over a longer period of time. So the college is in a no-win situation because the fiscal responsibility slide says clearly that the college will be responsible for the money they spend, and that's how accountability works. But they don't have control over all the factors that influence that success. So I'm wondering then, how are they going to be evaluated on their success? If TEP and social work are, quote, unsuccessful because they don't have the number of students that you want to see in it, then how, going forward, is that going to be the measure that they are going to be measured by? How many students enroll and how many students complete? I think that's the kind of information that needs to be determined up front so that people understand what the measures are. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Minister Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the members' comments, and that's why we want to start from us here as political leaders from the ground up, working together to identify these. Obviously, I did mention earlier that we're going to evaluate the range of programs, the services that are provided, but also supporting resources at the campuses. We want to examine practices that are used to recruit, but also retain students as well as staff. And with the accountability structure that we're going to be developing, that's going to be guided through this foundational review. It's like no other post-secondary institution that has to be accountable for the public dollars that are brought forth to them. And as I mentioned, we'll build this from the ground up, working with committee, working with stakeholders to identify those. For any further detail, maybe I'll ask my Deputy Minister if she has anything else to say.
Thank you, Minister Moses. Ms. Hayner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As the minister indicated, I think we can learn from other post-secondary institutions across the country, and the foundational review should also help inform that. But clearly, we don't want to have the college kind of guessing about what it's being measured against. And that is what an accountability framework will help do. It takes the guessing out. And there's a process in creating a framework like that. It would be done collaboratively with the college as well in setting measures and approaches for evaluating the outcomes achieved against those measures. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Hayner. Mr. O'Reilly.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, a couple things I guess I'd like to pursue a little bit more. I do appreciate that we have this briefing today. We've got the ECE minister here and his staff, but in future, when we're talking about Aurora College, can we have somebody from Aurora College actually at the table as well? I just think sometimes when we're going to be discussing some more detailed things, it would be helpful to have someone from the college here. So is that something we could arrange in the future when we're talking about Aurora College stuff? Whether it's, you guys can decide whether it's the president or somebody more on the operational end, but can we get somebody from Aurora College at future briefings about the college? Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. O'Reilly. Minister Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and concerning that, today's discussion was about the foundational review and the next steps that we're doing with the college. As Minister of Education, Culture and Employment, I feel it's my responsibility to take that on. In terms of operational work, then yes, we can look at getting either the chair or the president, or even both, here at the table for more operational type questions moving forward. But in terms of the presentation today on the foundational review, I feel that it's my responsibility. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Minister Moses. Mr. O'Reilly.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, yeah, and I appreciate that, and look forward to having the staff or leadership there when we're have more operational stuff going on. But this foundational review, I take it now that it's going to be mainly about Aurora College, but it sort of slides into the area of post-secondary education in general. When one of the slides there, and I'm not going to get the right one, says that it will inform the development of the post-secondary legislation. So look, it's no surprise, and I've been on record as saying that we need to have a post-secondary education strategy to look at how Aurora College can work with Collège Nordique and Deshinta, working towards a University of the Northwest Territories. So is that something that's going to be within at least the initial scope of this terms of reference, or is that something that you'd be willing to hear views from the committee on? Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. O'Reilly. Minister Moses.
The foundational review right now that we're going to be doing will only inform publicly funded institutions such as Aurora College and well, we do fund Deshinta some funding as well as Collège Nordique, but it will only inform publicly funded institutions, and with the amount of funding that we do put into Aurora College, I think the foundational review will really impact them mostly, but the legislation will also be reflective of what comes out of that foundational review, and that's the initial and first step that we got to take. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Any further questions? Okay, I'll just ask a couple before Mr. O'Reilly. Minister Moses, is this functional review or foundational review going to look at the independence of the college? Because right now, this college is is basically a division or department of the Department of EC&E. So will this be part of that review? Thank you. Minister Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and definitely I think we're going to be looking at the governance of the Aurora College, how it operates, the administrative structure, management, staff, board, the Board of Governors. We're going to be looking at the function, the roles, responsibilities, and definitely be looking at that and take that into account when we're looking at the foundational review. And all the suggestions that all members have brought forward today is what we want to hear and what we need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Moses. My second question is with regard to the strategic planning process that you guys have gone out. My understanding it's over 400 people have been contacted, 1,000, so 1,000 people have been contacted and have been putting their input into it. So how are we going to get the message out to them that their input is actually valued and will be used? Minister Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And all the feedback we got from everyone that put feedback into the strategic plan, we're going to use that as well in the foundational review. And once that foundational review is done, it's going to help develop a more comprehensive strategic plan for the Aurora College. So their input's still going to be there and it's still going to be utilized, and it's much appreciated for having such a high content of feedback into a strategic plan.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Mr. O'Reilly.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just one quick follow-up then. So this foundational review, I understand the main focus is going to be Aurora College, but will it also consider the relationship of the college to Collège Nordique and to Deshinta? I guess I'm looking for, I want these institutions to be able to better collaborate together, whether it's, space sharing or, mutual support or working together some way. is that going to be within the scope of the foundational review? Thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Minister Moses.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. And when we do develop this foundation review, there's going to be a lot of stakeholders that we want to reach out to and get input, Aboriginal governments, municipal governments, business. Obviously, we have that labor market assessment, the skills for success, as well as other post-secondary institutions that have an interest in investment in residents of the North and their education.
Thank you, Minister Moses. Mr. Riley.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. So presumably some of those stakeholders would include College Nordic and Deshinta. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Minister Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, we'll reach out to all our stakeholders moving forward on this foundational review.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from Minister Moses? Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And while we're throwing ideas out there of who to collaborate with, I hope that the department also looks to other stakeholders who perform functions in the community, educational functions that are often overlooked, and that would include friendship centers, Literacy Council, Hay Rivers Council for Persons with Disabilities. These are the kind of organizations that often perform, they often deal with people who maybe don't fit into the framework of Aurora College. Maybe they're helping prepare people to go there. And they can often do it much more effectively and much cheaper than government does. So I hope that when we're looking at the overall picture, these types of NGOs are also considered. And if there's the minister committed to working with the committee and regular members to build this framework or the terms of reference, and so I'll keep hounding on that one too. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Simpson. Comments, Minister Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as you know, we're myself and the staff are taking notes on all the ideas that are coming out of the initial meeting on this Aurora College. Our first step is to get that terms of reference done and go move it through the process. And when it's ready, as soon as we can, we will get it to committee, and then get the ball rolling, as you can say, and moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Any follow-up, Mr. Simpson? Okay. I just have one other question. Will this review actually look at the number of campuses we have in the Northwest Territories, or is it going to, I guess I'll just leave that with you, the first question. Minister Moses.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And yes, we're going to look at the whole Aurora College system as it stands in place, so all the campuses. And as I mentioned, as we get that terms of reference done, we're going to need input from committee as well as our stakeholders on the foundational review for the whole Aurora College system. Yeah.
Thank you, Minister. I guess my last question would be about the regional centers that have these learning centers in there. Will this functional review look at how we can actually utilize these centers to maybe, access programs and stuff, so students are better prepared and are allowed to develop in their own community for the first year? So will the minister, is that part of this review? Minister Moses?
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chair. And as one of the members had asked earlier about the CLCs, yeah, definitely we're going to be looking at all our CLCs, region, communities, right across the board.
Okay. Thank you, Minister Moses. Any other questions? Okay. Minister Moses, I would like to thank you. Before we adjourn the meeting, do you wish to have any closing comments?
I just want to thank members for the passion, the concern that they have for the residents, the students that have been in Aurora College, but also taking a bigger look at the Aurora College itself. And working together, I think we can come up with a very good foundational review moving forward that's going to provide the programs, the supports, and the service that are needed to make sure that our staff are in a safe environment to teach, and that our students get the quality education that they need so they can work in our communities, go back home, and serve the residents of the North. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Minister Moses. I would like to thank your staff and the public for attending this meeting, and we'll adjourn the meeting. So thank you very much.